I've had the chance to sit down with everyone from sports icons to celebrities, each with their own incredible story. I'm Wisdom Martin, here to offer you a behind-the-scenes peek into the lives of some fascinating folks. So get ready to be honest, be inspired, and have some candid conversations. In 1974, Howard University made sports history in soccer. The Bison went undefeated and won the NCAA championship. They were the first and only HBCU soccer team to win the national championship. And joining me now is the head coach from that team, Lincoln Phillips, former player Keith LaCoy, and current athletic director Kerry Davis. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
We got a trifecta of greatness here with you. All right, so look, I want to talk about this. This was back then. Soccer's a global game.
Right.
Here in this country, back then, probably not as global, especially when it comes to HBCU. So how big of a deal was this to win that, first of all, to be good in soccer and to win that championship?
Well, back then, professional soccer just started in '68 with the North American Soccer League. And I was one of the players coming in from the Caribbean. I had players from Africa and from Europe come in to really make the professional league something. And so that was my introduction into the game. The game, black folks looked at the game as a sissy game, and the white folks the white folks looked at the game as a communist game.
Wow.
And so we had to fight to get through all of that. And I coached one of the teams here in Washington, Washington Darts, for about 3 years. And then I met Coach Chambers, and that's how the Howard thing started. But it was still very rural at that time. And then when we started to play Howard, we had some very talented players from Nigeria and the Caribbean, and so the game was very stylish. So the game took off for a while, and we were responsible for the development of soccer in this area in particular.
Right. All right. Before I get to Kerry, you were one of those players.
Yes.
You were one of those players. What made you decide, okay, not only am I going to do this here, I'm going to do it at Howard University?
Well, I was captain of the under-20 team of my own country, Trinidad and Tobago, and I got a call a morning, I remember clearly, I got a call from Lincoln saying, I need you in Washington Tuesday. He gave me 48 hours. I said, yes, I'm coming. I didn't know how. But I arrived. I arrived at Howard the week before classes began. And I saw it as a huge challenge, coming straight out of high school, going to a foreign country, different people, different climate, different culture. I had never seen racism before I came to this country. So the cultural challenge was huge. And of course, there was the athletic challenge to be part of a project to win a title and to push the game among the black population, the African-American population. So I love a challenge. So I said, yes, I'm coming, and I did. And I've never regretted it.
Right. Kerry, this was a big deal for Howard University. Talk about the impact that had 1974 to now. Not just at Howard probably, but probably all across the board, because we're talking about the national championship. You beat everybody.
Right. Right, and it's interesting, I was in high school when the 74 team won the championship. And as a matter of fact, I was in the 8th grade when the 71 team won. That was the first time that I had even noticed soccer as being a part of our community. And so I think the impact that both of those teams had, both 71 and 74, had on the black diaspora, if you will, was realizing that soccer was becoming at that point a national sport that African Americans and people who looked like us could compete in. There were no soccer fields in the Bronx, right? So we were playing, basketball and football were our only sports. So I think that team was the inspiration for a lot of young black youth across the world, not just in America, but across the world, realize right, that this could be something that we could excel in.
Right. The other thing is, all right, the first time you won the championship, the NCAA said, not so fast. They came after you and they stripped you of that championship because of some other things. Your reaction to that?
Well, first of all, we won the championship in '71, and we went to Jamaica and got some really good players, and so the team was improved by about 50%. And it seemed as though we were going to have a dynasty. And when it came down, it was an absolute shock to all of us, and several of our best players, including Keith, were sidelined from the team, and that weakened our team considerably. And it was, we cried. It hurt deeply, and then they put us on 1 year's probation. That was even worse. Nothing to play for. And so going into the '74 championship, I don't know if we had lost this game, Keith. We would have all died. Everything was on the line. We had to win. The whole university, Black America, was behind us. It was just more than a soccer game.
Right. And you said y'all had a slogan for the second time around.
Truth crushed the earth shall rise again.
And that's what you were trying to do.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
And one of the things to realize about that was the NCAA actually did an investigation into the '71 team in terms of whether or not the stripping of that title was correct. And although they didn't reverse the call, they did find that stripping was discriminatory, because in looking at where a lot of the athletes had come from, overseas in terms of the Caribbean or Africa, right? A lot of the things that we accept now, we didn't then. So a lot of the requirements that international students had, there were no SATs in Trinidad, right? So that was part of the basis of the stripping. But the reality of it was, if it were today, that title would have stood.
Right. What was it like for you to go through that whole experience?
Well, we invested 2 years into that, right? I was one of the players. I was legit, but out of an abundance of caution for the semifinal in the Orange Bowl, it was against St. Louis University. The coach said, "I'm going to leave you out." I was 19. I cried bitterly because I was I was a starting defense player, and I couldn't play in '72, and we lost. And in the changing room, the dressing room, we said, "Listen, we're going to come again," expecting that to mean '73. They banned us or suspended us. So we invested '73 and then all of '74 into getting that title back, which we did. And the sweet irony of it was or is that we beat St. Louis University in the final in St. Louis in Busch Stadium. So that made it all the sweeter. So it was, with great anticipation, great pressure that we went into the game. We didn't play our best match, I think because of that weight, but champions find a way to win. And we did that in several overtimes, and that made it all the sweeter.
Personally, going through all of that and to still be able to overcome, what did that mean for you personally beyond soccer? Because we all often talk about how sports is, numbers and winning and losing, but it seems like there was something more than soccer at play here, because you had to go through it, overcome it, and then push through for the victory. So that spoke to something within.
Well, I've always had some of our professors come speak to the players, and there was this one guy named Dr. Don Basil Matthews, and he when he speaks, he has a voice like James Earl Jones, like God, and he's talking to us, he says, "You guys have to understand that you're not just soccer players." He said, "You are ambassadors. You are playing for your country. You're playing for your race, you're playing for your university, and most of all, you're playing for the game of soccer. You're ambassadors, and ambassadors must be at their best, not often, but always." And he left the room. And we sat down there, must have been 2 years. It just impacted us because now, as Keith said, we came from the Caribbean, we didn't witness that type of racism. He said, "Man, this thing is huge. This thing is bigger than us, and that is what carried us through some of these games. As Keith mentioned, the first half of that final game, we played horrible, and then all of a sudden, you know, somebody shouted, "Oh, guys, the truth," you know, and we just picked it up from there.
Wow. What kind of impact do you think this will have moving forward? Now, we're talking about this now some 50 years later. You know, soccer's grown, it's exploded. What kind of impact do you think recognizing all of this will have? Not just on Howard, but everybody.
Well, I think one of the things you started out with was the idea of a national championship, right? I mean, I think when I look back even at our other sports and say what is attainable, I talk to them about, I just don't want to win the conference championship or this league championship. I want to talk about winning a national championship. And by the way, this can be done. Look back 50 years later and it has been done. And so in terms of looking at all of our aspirations, I think, as an HBCU, right, as a proud HBCU member, we now look at the national landscape as the possibility of what can be achieved. And so that impact will stay until the next team does it. We haven't had a team of basketball. Hey, let's see if we can get one.
Right. Just all it takes is one.
All it takes is one.
Yeah, one to get it started. Right. Anything else you want to add?
Well, I think that the effect 50 years later, 50 years on, the effect is being seen. Half of the U.S. national team is black. Right, 50 years later, in my time, when I was playing, the national team of the United States were good corn-fed Midwestern boys, if I could put it that way. But today, half of the U.S. national team is black, so that ripple effect is coming on and getting stronger over the 50-year period and into the future.
Right. Okay.
Let me just mention that not only do we have players on the soccer field, but we have guys who have burst through that glass ceiling. We have a guy by the name of Oguchi Onyewu. His father's Nigerian, but he's born over here. He has reached the highest level, administratively. And we have two other young folks who have administratively have gone past. So now our legacy is those people, who are now, and their legacy has to be to develop professional teams, professionally owned black teams, and not just professionally owned black teams, but winning teams. That's their legacy. That's what they have to look forward to. And so, yes, we have influenced the game. And as a matter of fact, I don't know if it's coincidentally, but Europe did not open its doors to black Caribbean players and African players. And it is around that time that black players started to be accepted in Europe. My son told me, I can't say it, but make sure I said coincidentally, that happened.
Right.
So we had tremendous influence on the game throughout the world.
Okay. All right. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Appreciate y'all coming in and sharing your story.
Thank you.
About making history at Howard University.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming up,
The best part of comedy is the instant feedback you get from strangers on your thoughts.
comedian Roy Wood Jr. And later,
I was at the lowest of low before the most magnificent high happened to me. And I think you never know what's going to happen around the corner, and you never know what blessings your life will give you.
actress Aria Mia Loberti, when a moment of wisdom returns. Stand-up comedian Roy Wood Jr. is known for his sharp wit and satirical commentary on social media and political issues. Now, his comedy focuses on the absurdities of everyday life, and he delivers it with a mix of humor and insight. How did you get started?
I got started, it was 98. Jesus, I'm old. It was 98. I was a junior at Florida A&M University. And like comedy had always been something I wanted to do. Grades got out of whack, started acting a fool, got suspended from school for a year. And during that year, I ain't had nothing to do. I'm like, well, let me just try comedy. And started doing stand-up. And by the time I got back in school, I was already traveling to like 5 or 6 states. So I changed my schedule, my class schedule, to where I only took classes in the middle of the week so I could have Monday and Friday to travel on the bus to just go do stand-up. And when I
Wow.
graduated from school, you know, I did a little bit of radio, but stand-up comedy was always the undercurrent, and it's like the one constant.
Right. Radio, broadcasting.
Yeah.
You had a career in that. Tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about that career, and then you eventually just went all in on the comedy part.
Well, I went in, for me, the issue was that radio, as much as I loved it, this is before you could be in one city and your co-host be in another city and y'all get together on Zoom. You had to be in the studio every day. And as my comedy grew, I drove further, I flew further. So it just became a harder thing to sustain. But, you know, I had a good 10, 15-year run between Birmingham and Atlanta doing morning radio.
What's the best part of comedy to you?
The best part of comedy is the instant feedback you get from strangers on your thoughts. There's nothing better than it. It is a high that you chase from the first laugh, and it's never going to be as good as your first time. But you know, you're gathering strangers in a room who do not know each other, and you're talking to them, and then as a group, they're all agreeing at the exact same time that, yeah, I agree with that, or no, I don't agree with that. But it's so gratifying. But the thing that makes comedy so challenging is that it's one of the rare performance arts that is prepared in real time and workshopped in real time in front of the audience.
Right.
So there's a risk in that because not everybody understands the process of stand-up.
How'd you get on the late night show? How'd you get that whole thing going?
Yo, so the Daily Show was a blessing too, man. I had an opportunity. My man Neil Brennan, co-created Chappelle's Show, he's good friends with Trevor Noah. Trevor saw some of my stand-up, was like, yeah, let's get him. And then the producers came down. They're like, oh yeah, let's get him. And so that's how I came into the fold at the Daily Show. And that was the perfect marriage because the Daily Show is essentially journalism and comedy, which is exactly what the hell I've been doing for the previous 15 years of my life. So it was like the perfect intersection at the perfect time, you know, and I took it, I ran with it. We had a great 8 years, man. I learned a lot on that show. I would argue the Daily Show and Saturday Night Live are probably two of the best jobs and most stable jobs in entertainment, period. Right under like Ice-T on Law and Order. Like, he gonna have a job forever. Him and Olivia Benson.
They've been on there since forever, right?
Stabling them. Oh, yeah, they good. They
Wow,
good. That's
yeah.
a stable job too.
Yeah.
But you know, if we're talking like late night television, man, those shows have stood the test of time.
Coming up, more of my conversations with funny man Roy Wood. Welcome back to A Moment of Wisdom. Here's more of my conversation with comedian Roy Wood. You went to an HBCU, FAMU.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that experience like? How did that get you ready for getting out in the real world, whether it's on the radio or just comedy in general?
I think Florida A&M, I think black colleges as a whole do, the most important thing that you get is a sense of community and knowing that there's other people that are going to be going through the same struggles as you. So when you get out into the world and you get into spaces that do not look like the student body that you were mingling amongst, you know in the back of your mind, there are people out there who know what you're going through, who know what you're feeling, and you also know what you're representing, and you can be an inspiration to the next wave of black college students. So, you know, it is hands down the most important choice I made in my life was where I went to college, and Florida A&M was perfect for me.
Now, I went to Jackson State. Y'all ruined our season.
Jesus Christ, you should've told me that before you.
Y'all ruined
Keep
our
going.
season last year,
going.
man. Y'all ruined our season.
After
right
y'all
at the
ruined
gate.
our season with Deion Sanders
Well, yeah.
coming in there running up the score?
That's right. Yeah, that's what we were supposed to do.
Please.
Yeah. And then, and then y'all ruined us and y'all beat us down the next year. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's all good. It's all good. The next question I want to ask you is the White House Correspondents' Dinner. What was that experience like for you?
The Correspondence Dinner is fun. So, you know, you go there and you're definitely nervous. At least I was, I'll be honest in that, because you're having an opportunity as a voter to get in front of a room full of elected officials and call them out on the stuff that they haven't been doing. And
And they all sit there and laugh. Don't they sit there and laugh?
for the most part, some of them don't laugh. Not all of them.
You don't, but you don't care at that point.
Yeah,
do you?
yeah, but it's interesting that it's the one comedy gig where it's pretty much agreed upon, half these people are going to hate you. Every joke, it's going to oscillate which half hate you, but more than likely half of them are not going to, not hate, but not going to laugh. Because you can make a joke about a network. The people at that table not going to laugh at that joke because they bosses at the table.
Right.
But you know them, right? So yeah, correspondence dinner was fun. It was a blessing to be able to do. I don't know if I'd ever do it again.
Oh, no.
It
No?
was stressful.
Oh, really?
Nah, Dave had to give me a shot of whiskey. I was sober up there. That's crazy.
Yeah, but no more of that. Moving on to something else.
I will see.
Yeah, okay,
You
gotcha.
might have a good check. You never know.
You're related to civil rights legend John Lewis.
Yeah. Some cousins, a second, third removed.
But y'all got some of the same blood, so that y'all still
Yeah,
cousins.
you know it's weird. You look at me and John Lewis on a split screen. I'm like, all right, I can see it. See it right there. But yeah, I found out that on Finding Your Roots, and you know, I've always told people, like, if you ever want to find out like something wild about your family, go on that show, because I found out stuff that I never knew about my family and my bloodline and my father, and you know, it also, you know, John Lewis's ties to the state of Georgia. I think subliminally plays into why I feel so at home when I perform in Atlanta.
Right. Okay. All right.
And
What's
also DC. I love DC.
Okay. What do you like about DC? What's your favorite part of DC? I know they always say it's a smart crowd and that type of thing.
It
as far
is,
as
though.
performing,
It is.
yeah.
Like, it's a well-informed crowd, but also because y'all live around so much craziness, we can come on stage and talk about whatever we want. You've seen it all. You've experienced it all. You work with every type of race and religion and political ideology. So it's the perfect place to come. DC, San Francisco is another good one. You know, I would argue Atlanta now, to me, it's come up and is in the big dogs
Right.
in terms of the idea of the comedy IQ of that region. And, you know, DC is a dope place. I was coming here to shoot my third special, but it didn't work out because of COVID. So thankfully, you know, I talked to Hulu. Hulu asked me where I wanted to shoot number 4. I said, man, we gotta go back. I gotta go. I owe them one.
Up next, my conversation with actress and All in the Light We Cannot See star Aria Mia Liberti. Actress Aria Mia Liberti is known for her work in film and television, but you might not know that she's also an advocate for people with disabilities and uses her platform to push for inclusion in the entertainment industry. Wisdom Martin one-on-one with my new friend, Aria Mia Liberti, in studio right now. And this is an incredible story. There's so many different layers to this. She is the star of the Netflix show, All the Light We Cannot See, which is incredible. Incredible because you only auditioned one time and you got the role.
I had never even considered this as a career option, and I just auditioned to a cattle call email, sent in my information, and then I got a call back, and then I got another call back, and then I had 3 weeks of callbacks, and then on a random Sunday morning, they Zoomed me to tell me I got the part. And
What was your reaction to this? Because again, you're not.
Yeah.
This was not your thing, so to speak.
No.
You didn't think you were going to get this, especially after one audition.
Yeah, no, I really didn't anticipate anything like this. I mean, I think every kid kind of grows up with a dream to do something like that, but never seriously, at least not for me. So I had definitely fantasized about it as a little girl, but had never anticipated making it my career. I was always really more I was on a very academic path, and I always thought that I would either be a professor or maybe I would be in the Foreign Service or run for office or something, or both. And then this opportunity came along, and it just really spoke to me because I love the book that the show is based on, and
Right.
it has led to so many awesome opportunities to
Now,
do a little
right.
bit of everything.
Right, and you said you were on an academic path because you're.
Yeah.
Now I read your bio. You're very academic.
Yeah.
Very, very academic. All right, so you got the highest honors from the University of Rhode Island, a triple major in communications, philosophy, political science, and a minor in ancient Greek and in rhetoric.
Yeah.
Wow. How did you have time, first of all, to do all that?
I didn't sleep on Mondays.
Just on Mondays?
Yeah,
Okay, just
yeah.
on Mondays, no sleeping. Yeah, and so what made you decide to spin away from all of that and try to go in this direction and end up on Netflix?
Well, when the audition thing came along, I felt like I was kind of in a rut, and so I decided that I had just finished my Fulbright scholarship, which was like this huge honor. And
Which another honor I failed to mention.
No, it's okay. No, it's okay. And it was like, it's a big responsibility. And I felt like when I was there, I loved my experience, but I didn't feel connected to the academic work as much anymore. And I had just moved to my PhD and was having this sort of same feelings. And I felt like I was missing something. I think it was like a connection, like a human connection with people. And that's what really drew me to audition. And I think what's so magical about the world of acting, now that I've been like doing this type of thing and everything for like a year, is like I have been able to reach people on a different level and tell stories that matter, but also do work with organizations like UNICEF that I never really would have been able to do. From high school, I had always done a lot of advocacy with the UN, and from when I was a little girl, I'd always done a lot of human rights work because it just really inspired me. What I always gravitated towards was telling stories. And I think this is such a beautiful combination of being able to tell stories as my job, but also it amplifies my voice as an advocate. So many more people can reach the message that I want to share of, just not only self-acceptance, but beauty of yourself, of the planet, protecting each other. And I'm really grateful that my career path as an actor has been able to do that, because I don't think I realized how being an actor is a scholarly pursuit. I think I was maybe a little judgmental, and I'm really grateful that I've moved beyond that judgment to embrace this whole career and see how multifaceted it could be.
All right, so you mentioned UNICEF. You're speaking at the World Children's Day. Tell me a little bit about that experience and why you decided to get involved in that.
From when I was little, I was always fascinated by the UN and by UNICEF in particular and the work that they do, because they are so successful at it. And I feel like so many human rights organizations are striving to reach their populations, and UNICEF does so much on behalf of children. What really has spoken to me in the last few years is climate rights and climate activism, and how so many children lack access to education because of the damage we're doing to our climate, and how can we protect those vulnerable kids. And I think UNICEF does such a beautiful job at making sure not only can children be safe should a climate crisis arise in their region, but that they continue to have access to education, to mental health resources, to sanitation, to basic human rights. So they take that whole pyramid and address it in a very multifaceted and intersectional way that I appreciate.
Right.
I became a UNICEF ambassador last time I was in DC, which was in April or May, I think.
Right.
And that was a lifelong dream come true.
My final question is, you talked about kids and struggling and overcoming. Tell me a little bit about a lot of people. I often ask this question to a lot of people I interview. A lot of people see the finished product. They'll see you up there on Netflix. They'll see you talking at UNICEF, and they'll say, wow, she's amazing. But they don't know your journey.
Yeah.
They don't know your struggles. So really quickly, talk a little bit about your struggles, your journeys, and how you were able to overcome all of that to get to where you are today.
Gosh, wow, that's loaded.
And I said really quickly, like so. Okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
No, that's loaded. I think I definitely don't have the traditional path to acting or to Hollywood or even to becoming a UNICEF ambassador. I have had to overcome a lot since I was a little girl. I've had to fight for my own education and my own access. And I think there are certain restrictions growing up in the lower middle class or the working class here in the US that, we definitely can't downgrade those obstacles. But I think in the more recent years, I've really, and what led me to audition to All the Light in the first place was mental health struggles and not feeling like I belonged, not feeling like I was doing enough for the world. And I see so many people, my generation and the generations coming up, that are struggling with that sense of identity and that sense of earnestness. And I think if I was going to share a message with like any young person who's watching this, or any parents or guardians of young people who are watching this, it's that there's so much pressure on young people today to do better, be better. be the best version of themselves. And it's really hard sometimes. And I was at the lowest of low before the most magnificent high happened to me. And I think you never know what's going to happen around the corner, and you never know what blessings your life will give you. And it's very important to be receptive to them, because I think I wasn't. And I would like to make sure that if someone could take something away from this, that they are. That even if you're really struggling, no matter what, you can get through it, and it's okay. Just believe in yourself and push and put yourself out there.
Beautiful words of wisdom to end on. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for coming in and speaking with me.
Thank you so much. It was
appreciate
so
it.
good to meet you.
Yes,
This
it
was
was
so
great
fun.
to meet you as well. This is great. Yeah. All right. Thank you. I'm Wisdom Martin. Thank you for watching.